So are you okay being on camera?
Yes.
Thank you. So, Jason, could you please briefly introduce yourself in a couple of words?
Absolutely, yes. So my name is Jason. I'm the founder and CEO of Ageless Partners. We're a small startup company. Our focus is on reversing the aging process. We want to eventually take a 90-year-old and make them 21.
Cool. So the major question here, which I'm asking everyone on this event, imagine you can decide for the whole industry of radical life extension. You can just pick one project we all have to be focused on. Like stop doing all the rest and be just focused on one thing. What thing would that be, and why?
It's a tough question. The entire industry, it really, I would think about like timelines. So if we wanted to focus on one thing today, that would be promising for like the long term, that would be the most important. I would say nanotechnology. Nanotechnology will have the most promise in the long run, being able to really manipulate biology on a very granular level. That being said, it's sort of a long-term endeavor, and a lot of that stuff is still in the research phase. So if we wanted a shorter-term thing, I think the most mature technology in the biotech revolution is to some degree stem cells. Stem cells and all the different technologies behind them, whether it's amniotic fluid or exosomes and these different regeneration technologies. So I probably would focus primarily on that. When you look at the hallmarks, the 9 hallmarks, and now you have the 14, really the stem cell depletion is so critical for aging. Unfortunately, we were seeing in one of the talks yesterday, when you're born, you have like one stem cell for every 10,000 cells, and once you hit 18, you're down to much less. You're already at 40% of what you had originally. At 30, you're already down to 25%. So when you hit 60, like you barely have any stem cells left to go, and you can't regenerate quick enough. So I'd really focus primarily on that. If you could only pick one thing, of course.
Okay, so we've picked one area. What would be the project there, the most important project or step?
Within stem cells. I mean, just to take a step back, I would say focusing on one thing wouldn't be ideal because you got to have a multi-prong approach. You got to have many therapies across many modalities, across many organizations to really solve the aging problem. I think there won't be like one single project that solves everything. But that being said, there's a lot of things going on now in the stem cell space all over the world. Do you mean like in terms of the actual like technology or therapy that you would develop, or?
Well, the project, the focus, not necessarily would be in science. If you feel that we need like some other types of projects that we need to be focused on that will accelerate the industry as a whole, yeah, you can pick that one, not necessarily scientific area.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's such a multifaceted issue because you have governmental laws that aren't moving fast enough to keep up with the technology. You have regulations that aren't keeping up the speed either. That really need to be changed. So to some degree, altering the public perception, things like the Alliance for Longevity are working on, those would be really important. Because really we know that the US can create a vaccine and deploy it rather quickly. We've seen it was done in COVID. And really the thing is, if we could get more capital, more money, and bigger organizations like the US government to actually come in and deploy capital, that would really accelerate things. So that may be, I mean, if you could only do one thing, just changing that perception and having the government realize from an economic standpoint, it's the most efficient use of capital, because at the end of the day, if you only reversed or slowed the aging process down even 1 year for the whole US, this guy, Andrew J. Scott, he wrote this paper and showed that it would be $38 trillion in savings for the US because they're working longer, there's less healthcare costs, there's less strain on the economy. And really, if we don't go that route, we're going to have so many old people, and the young people are going to be trying to support them through Social Security and these other governmental protocols or things that really are just not going to survive unless we can make this a priority for the entire planet, essentially.
So lobbying then, right?
I don't know if I define it as lobbying, but altering the perception and having the.
It depends whose perception are we changing here, the people or the government directly.
it would have to be a combination of both. It would have to be a combination. Because today, if you start talking just to like a normal person, especially if you say age reversal, it's going to be really over their head. It's still too foreign. People still think that there's this inevitability that humans have to die, and they always try to portray it as like it's a good thing. But in reality, if you go into a nursing home, you can see it's really not that fun, and they're not on the beach. They're not having a great time in there. So it's something that I think that our whole society sees in a certain way, but really they see it in a way because we've never had these enabling technologies that are now coming into existence, and we just could never even think about it. Like in the 1500s, I mean, there was always some idea, a long time ago, that hey, we want to live forever, this or that, we want to live a long time. But now we actually are seeing like that it's feasible to live very long. We're actually sequenced the genome fully for a human and fully for an immortal jellyfish, and then we sequenced the genome of a non-immortal jellyfish, and you could really compare those genomes and see the differences. And there's nothing stopping us from altering the genome of one of those and altering it to become the other one, the immortal one. And I think we could do the same thing in humans. There's nothing in the laws of physics that say we can't. So.
Okay, so our maybe major focus will be changing the perception of the people and the government. How do we do that? Still quite big projects to tackle. Maybe we need more people to do it, or maybe more funding. What's lacking there? What's the major hole to be, to put our effort in?
No, that's a hard one. I mean, right now, when you look at like where the funding is going, like for example, they just launched a big initiative for cancer. I think Joe Biden released something, and I'm sure they put billions of dollars, and it's good. But really, what they don't understand is that if you're targeting one disease, it's not actually that efficient, because when you target aging, you're targeting all the age-related diseases at once. So I think I would say really like the projects that some of these people are working on that are talking directly to the politicians, talking to the regulators, bringing them in. They age too. And I think that if they sit down with people and just have a conversation, they're going to realize if they actually start digging into it, like, that there's something here. And I think that it's really just sitting down with those people, bringing them in. There shouldn't be this two sides. It's sort of like in politics too. Like we've seen it for many years. You have the Democrats and you have the Republicans, and both parties are pointing the finger at the other one, saying, "Oh, they're doing this wrong, they're doing this." But really, we want to bring people together to some degree into maybe a new party. But really, it's just bringing all the people together, not necessarily having a line and a division between them. Yeah.
And how do we do that? I wanna try to come to the bottom of that.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I mean, I don't have all the answers. I would say probably just. I mean, I think to some degree what you're working on is helping. With OpenLongevity, you're trying to make it more open, bring more people in. A very diverse groups all around the world. Having people understand the technology, having people understand the movement, having people understand that aging isn't necessarily inevitable, and there's actually something we can do about it. So I think you're already doing it to some degree.
All right, there. Thank you. Yeah, nice. But my proposition is when we come into this stage and so this is the phase when I'm not actually able to answer the question myself, but I'm like getting there, but it's too hard. I don't have expertise or something. Let's organize an event which will try to answer this particular question. And we started very generic, what's the most important thing, and now we're here on the stage of how do we sort of combine lobbying and addressing people in power as normal human beings, right? How do we talk to them? Invite them to our side, and if we don't know, like me and you, how to answer this question, but we feel it's important, let's maybe start an event about this, the conference about this. Not only talk about science, but the conference which is trying to answer very important questions in our field, which are these kind of questions.
Absolutely, I think it's a good idea. And I mean, RAADFest is a good start, but yeah, we need bigger events, we need a broader coalition, we need a more diverse group, like you've alluded to. Maybe bringing in, bring in big pharma, bring in the leaders of big pharma, bring in the FDA, bring in the governmental representatives and everything, and get them into the conversation, because at the end of the day, they have people who they care about, and they're all going to be dead from aging unless we solve the problem. So,
cool, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Let's go have lunch.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yay.
Appreciate it. Sweet.
Yeah.